All right, we got the question up. I told you about it before the break. Boston eliminates Cleveland. The Celtics send the Cavaliers home for the summer. Any perverse pleasure for Jazz fans?
I'd imagine there'd be some.
Yes.
I don't have any.
Dustin, I'm not happy, but there is a sense of validation seeing Don and potentially Rudy eliminated in the second round. It makes you believe the Jazz made the right move blowing it up, or we would have continued to have second-round exits.
Well, now you have no round exits.
Dyson, yes, sir. Don quit on the Jazz and on this town, and he will never be a winner. Dyson's taking a lot of pleasure from it. Ammon, this is why the team they had never would have worked. They were never good enough to get out of the second round.
Yeah, but that theory drives me nuts. You would have had the opportunity to make changes, to improve. That group, that's a historical fact.
And if they traded Mitchell first, and he did want out, so that was a trade that really had to happen. I don't think they had a choice. Rudy, they had a choice. And I get the choice they made, but they did have a choice. Trade Mitchell, bring in Morgan in. Now, the Rudy deal came together first, and they were committed to moving him, so he was gone, so we never got to see what that would have looked like. I am curious what that would have looked like. Does that remove some of the conflict? Do they get a good enough player back?
Well, they got Markkanen.
How much can they? Right, and so what would
they got
Markkanen?
Sexton.
Right, but is Markkanen good enough to win in the playoffs if he'd been paired with those guys around him? We can't really answer that. Markkanen's still never been to the playoffs. I assume with that team, he would have gone to the playoffs, and how good would he have been in the postseason?
Okay, but then you could have traded Rudy after that, after he got some postseason experience. I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Right, Rudy, and the Rudy trade could have come a year or two later. You're like, yeah, we'll trade him one day because we think that we're not getting enough production for the money we're paying, but let's see for a year or two. Because Rudy wasn't going to go, whereas Donovan definitely was.
But they still had time. They still had 3 other years they could have played with Mitchell.
Yep. I think you get less for him, and I think they were afraid of getting less for him. So they want to make the move.
Yeah, but you can argue that you can get more from him because teams would be more desperate, and he would have put up another banner season.
There's no telling if you could have caught somebody in a bind. But they went with the time.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they did, yeah. So
Nathan says, the Jazz are garbage and misery loves company, I guess. If you losers want to root for somebody to lose, losing losers can hang out together with losers.
A lot of losing there.
Nathan's just bitter about the way everything went. Wyatt says, I was cheering for Donovan, and I'm cheering for Rudy, too. Wyatt doesn't have a team in the postseason, so he'll root for the ex-Jazz guys. That's the best he can do at this point. David, no, I always hope that past Jazz dudes do well, except for Hayward.
Well, he's a meaningless player now.
David will hold one grudge. Yeah. I don't have time for a lot of grudges. I do, however, have time for one grudge.
Yeah, but it's a sports grudge, though. It's not a real-life grudge.
Probably. We hope.
Well, I mean, yeah, how's it? It can't be real life.
Brian. Well, why? Once they're gone, I don't cheer for our stars. I mean, it's okay to cheer for Joe and Alec, but not for Rudy and Don. You'll cheer for the role players, but not the stars. I don't think I've heard that logic before. Cheer for all the ex-Jazz players. Cheer for none of the ex-Jazz players. We've all heard both of those answers.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But if that's what you want to do, you're certainly entitled to do it.
If it works for you. Melody says, the Celtics are my post-trade deadline team every year. I'm a big fan of Derek White. I'm glad to see Boston send Cleveland home and get back to the conference finals. Adopt your second favorite team.
Some people do that, yeah.
Yep.
For other reasons. And there's a
Maybe
million
you
reasons.
lived in the area or you got family who lives in the area and you start following a team.
Your grandpa's uncle's cousin.
Yep, right.
Especially if they win. Nobody adopts a team in another market.
Sucks.
Right. It doesn't work that way. Everybody who has a second team, that team is almost virtually guaranteed to be good.
My cousin lives in Dallas, and we talk Cowboys all the time.
Yeah, right. So you're going to go with you. No one has a second favorite team in Charlotte.
I feel bad for my cousins in Charlotte. Their team sucks.
Yeah, or it's
That's
like
the most you'll commit to them.
Anybody from Michigan who goes to BYU, or anybody from Ohio who goes to BYU. Well, yeah, I love the Cougars, but I also like Michigan and Ohio State. But nobody from Indiana
loves the Hoosiers.
Yeah, they love BYU.
Actually, I do have a guy I went to BYU with who is a diehard Hoosiers fan.
Yeah, basketball.
Both. But he will say that. He said, I went to BYU, but I am still an Indiana fan, too.
There's no diehard Hoosier football fans.
Yeah, the 40,000 who show up every week are diehard. Why are they showing up?
It's something to do.
We got more guys here. We got Nick is saying, man, at least the Jazz would have been in the playoffs if those guys were still here. I would take their second-round exits over pea-colored jerseys and tanking for the 10th overall pick. I don't think you like the gold and black.
Yeah, I don't care about uniforms, but they didn't tank.
But 45 or 50 wins in the second round is better than playing for nothing in the last 20 games.
Well, if you view it on face value here, but you can't. It cannot be viewed at face value. It has to be viewed in the long-term picture. And so at that point, when we get to 28, 29, 27, 28, speaking of years, not victory totals, maybe they got what they wanted, and they can have this opportunity to get the last laugh.
I have a poll question up on Twitter. David DJ James. The Celtics eliminate the Cavs. Jazz fans, do you like that? You like that? Yes, Mitchell must lose. 27% of the vote. No, I root for him. 24% of the vote. No, I am over him. 24% of the vote. And I'm watching the NHL. 25% of the vote. Just check out on the NBA playoffs. It's too painful. Go watch something else.
Once the trade was made, wasn't it destined to end like this for him? I never understood why he was jumping up and down, running around on a golf course. If your aim was to win it all, you weren't going to do it in Cleveland.
Do that.
No.
Nobody has predicted that for Cleveland.
Right. In the time frame that he was going to be contractually forced.
The 3 years he had left in his contract.
Now, who's to say Cleveland in
if he signs another
5
contract,
years from now?
Right. If he signs another contract and they have more time to make more moves and to let young guys grow up,
right.
Who knows where it goes?
Right.
But it wasn't going to be an instant winner. Add Donovan Mitchell, add water, stir, hoist a trophy.
Yeah.
Nobody believed that.
That's why I didn't understand why he was celebrating so wildly. That just made no sense to me.
It doesn't really make sense to me. The only thing I can think, trying hard to explain it, and I am trying hard to explain it, is that it had gotten so late in the summer, for a minute there, he honestly believed he was going to have to come back and go to Jazz camp.
That was never going to happen.
I agree with you. I didn't think it was going to happen either. They were going to get right down to the deadline, and they were going to take whatever the best offer was.
Right.
Which is literally what they did. They finally got tired of dealing with the Knicks, and the Knicks wouldn't go there, so they took the Cavs because that was the best offer they had out there.
Right. It was never going to happen. It made no sense to me, and it was somewhat disrespectful to the Jazz, especially for someone who was so beloved. I can see why the fans felt burned.
And it just went. It put out into the public sphere what a lot of people around the team privately already believed. He wanted out. He'd made it clear he wanted out, and he wasn't kidding. He really, really wanted out. And
right, but he didn't say my dream job is Cleveland.
No.
And so I'm going to run up and down and go crazy. I mean, I would run up and down and go crazy when I got my first NBA paycheck, knowing I was going to be in the league and I had the talent, sure. But to go to Cleveland, and it's nothing against the city of Cleveland. We're talking about the ball club. It didn't seem like they were going to do anything beyond what they've done.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next, Brian Taylor, co-host of Real Golf Radio, joins us. We talk PGA Championship. It is underway. The birdies are piling up. Xander Schauffele, 4 under through 8 holes. He has the lead. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.